translate its source material into realism and then depict that, as many film adaptations of writing do, but it brings the prose it mimics to life in a way that reflects the joy of poetic license.
Et ensuite, au printemps, ou peut-être l'été, ou possiblement l'automne, ou au plus tard l'hiver, cette nouvelle œuvre sera accomplie.
Shots like this are not just poetic in how they're written, but in how the scene is visually constructed and choreographed. Writing has a flexibility to shift perspective, skip deftly through time, freeze time and examine a moment, shift in style and tone, and create abstraction. And film shares all these possibilities, but normal conventions of filmmaking don't generally allow for them to be employed. Or if they are, it's generally one or two, not everything in the kitchen sink tossed into a single film. But if you're going to do that, what better place to do it than in a film about a magazine that allowed its writers to flex their stylistic muscles and to be totally themselves as artists?
You see the girl in it?
No.
Trust me, she's there.
When we reduce how we think about films or any art merely to the content, to what it exposits, we can lose out on the pleasure they can hold in other ways. The beauty of a shot or how a scene is constructed sometimes is, in my opinion, enough.
The point is, he could paint this beautifully if he wanted, but he thinks this is better. And I think I sort of agree with him.
Sometimes the rhyme and rhythm of a poem is enjoyable even when you don't understand what it means. And not all music needs lyrics. In The French Dispatch, within each story there are moments where the black and white photography erupts into color. These shifts delineate time, helping keep separate the film's many parentheticals and shifts in perspective, but they also help illuminate what I think was most vivid for each storyteller in their story. For Berenson, it was the art itself. For Kremens, it was the youth. For Roebuck Wright, it was the food. And within the larger story, not the articles within, but within The French Dispatch, the film, what's rendered in color is what is most vivid for Wes Anderson, the storyteller. The writers in the act of storytelling are what's portrayed in color. It's easy to imagine Howitzer Jr.'s advice applying to Wes's own films. However you do things, just try to make it seem like you shot it that way on purpose. The documentary Obit, about obituary writers at the New York Times, is a great documentary companion piece to The French Dispatch. The guy who runs the Times clip archive even seems like he could be a character out of a Wes Anderson film. You can watch this documentary, which I love, right now on CuriosityStream, which has thousands of educational and documentary titles. And when you sign up for CuriosityStream, you'll also get access to Nebula, a streaming service built and owned by creators like myself.
Both pretty gross because of their garbage adventure. Kat says that Sam can shower at her Nona's apartment.
Why did I do that? I knew that wouldn't work. I knew that wouldn't work.
Carly Shay, two friends who had known each other for their entire lives, stepped onto the elevator of Carly's apartment for the final time. The two rode down together, knowing that it was fully possible. And the cast of Henry Danger cannot come to reach Arts says he is translating so shower at her Nona's apartment. Sam says she doesn't want to muck up her motorcycle getting there, so she decides to trick a limo driver to chauffeur them around for free. The driver says he is waiting on a Dr. Williams, so Sam says that they are his daughters, and when the driver questions this, they loudly declare that he is attempting to assault them, and he sheepishly relents and agrees to drive them around. We jump cut to the pair in the Valentine household, where they are soon joined by Dice. Dice is, a character? I've been dreading him from the moment I found out he exists. Dice lives in an apartment in the same building and announces that he has made some investments which he is selling. hair. Specifically, celebrity hair. Kat insists on buying the Bieber hair that he has brought and begins sniffing it and moaning. Wow, what a totally normal thing to put into this show for babies, and not the writer's poorly disguised fetish. Dice notices that Kat's new friend is Sam from iCarly, and Sam offers to sell him some of her hair. He runs off, saying he'll be back soon with bags and scissors.
Quit sniffing the beebs.
I can't help it. He smells so talented!
Nona then bursts into the room, wearing a sack and being pushed by children in a shopping cart. We learn that Nona babysits for a living, but has decided she can't put up with these little demons anymore, and she is going to quit. She then announces that she is moving into a retirement home.
It's time for me to move to Elderly Acres.
No!
Is this a thing? Do old people do this? They're like, well, I'm too old to have a job. Put me in a home. Not gonna travel the world or live on a beach. Nope, nope, nope. I'm 65, put me in a wheelchair and throw me in a closet. Kat says that if Nona moves away, she'll have no one to help if she gets stuck on a toilet. Nona says that she will only be 5 miles away, and Sam says that if Kat does get stuck on the toilet, will Nona please text her a photo. That night, Nona sleepwalks and comes upon Sam in the living room on the fold-out couch. She promptly folds in the couch, trapping Sam inside. Ariana comes to the living room, and antics ensue.
Ghost couch! Ah! Ah!
Kat gets Sam out and invites herself to sleep in the same bed as her, and things get mildly subtextual. The two have a conversation about how Kat is lonely and wants to know how long Sam will be there, and Sam says that she's in no rush to go back home now that Carly is gone, and that it's her plan to get on her bike and go wherever it takes her. Then Nona comes back and folds in the couch again. Scene. Later, Kat gets home from school. We'll cover this later, I know it's weird. And Sam is there to greet her. They initially get up to some banter before Sam casually states that she admitted Kat's grandma to Elderly Acres without her consent. Sam was on the same page as Nona. She was like, this bitch sleepwalks, lock her in jail, throw away the key, she's a menace to society. I was in a couch. Look, all I'm saying is, I'm pretty sure Kat is supposed to be like 16, 17 in this show. So like entering her life and within 24 hours murking her only parental guardian is a deranged thing to do. Kat runs off to the elderly home and they run into a group of kids who Nona was supposed to babysit, who they end up bringing along. However, Sam doesn't want them in this part of the episode, so she puts them on an old person bike and straps the baby to the little metal basket and lets them just drive around LA. The kids ride off and we exchange baby antics for elderly antics. Nona is found playing Twister with other old people and they all laugh as they fall over. Quick question, is Twister like a swinger thing? I've never played Twister or seen another adult play Twister. It just seems like it exists exclusively in sitcoms and stories about swingers. Kat realizes that Nona likes living among the elderly, and Sam gives a group of old people tattoos.
I told you I wanted a tattoo of Abraham Lincoln.
Well, too bad. You got a chicken leg.
Ah!
Whoever said this era of Nickelodeon was a downgrade is crazy. I'm having a great time. The girls run home and Dice shows up with scissors and a bag all nonchalant. And it's like, bitch, I thought you were gonna be gone 5 minutes. It's been a whole day. Kat went to school, had an identity crisis, and a change of character, and it took you that long to find scissors? Dice showing up causes Kat to remember that they abandoned a group of kids who are currently getting in trouble at Inside Out Burger for ordering food without any money. The 3 kids get chased around by a heavy guy, and after a several-minute interlude, we cut back. Haha, the joke is that he's slow because he's fat. He passes out, and Kat says that they have to save him, so Sam pumps on his legs while Kat hops on his chest. They then switch. There are people watching this video who are discovering right now that they are somehow into this thing that the show just made up. The man, who is the manager of this specific Inside Out Burger location, declares that Sam and Kat will have free burgers for as long as they both live. Back at the Valentine pad, the kid's mom picks them up and pays the girls $150. Sam briefly jokes about giving Kat an unfair cut before giving her all of the money. Sam says she has to be off before Kat says she wishes she could stay.
We sort of have this whole fun odd couple dynamic. Built-in conflict. Lots of potential for more adventures.
Sam ultimately ends up conceding, saying that Kat needs a new roommate, and since Sam Sam doesn't have anywhere to be, she will be Kat's new roommate. The two then decide to go get free dinner at Inside Out Burger, and they pose on a motorcycle sitting on a really phony green screen. Kat is a little too flirty in an obnoxious way, and Sam says it's gonna be a long ride. Okay, let's go ahead and break the ice here by... Okay, let's go ahead and break the ice here by discussing some general hot takes about this pilot episode. Once again, we are approaching this from the guise of, we are executives at Nickelodeon in late 2012. Is this pilot good enough to make into a full show? Well, first of all, let's go ahead and point this out. There are a lot of sitcoms out there which are spin-offs, without their core defining trait being that they are spin-offs. Frasier is a spin-off of Cheers. Mork and Mindy is a spin-off of Happy Days. Daria is a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. And even some shows which are more known for being spin-offs, like, God forbid, Young Sheldon, still maintain some independent charm in such a way that if you are in a specific demographic, you can enjoy Young Sheldon in a standalone basis without watching The Big Bang Theory. So it's kind of a red flag to me that this pilot episode that is supposed to be ushering in a brand new age of Nickelodeon history is so dependent on you already finding charm in the source material. Because every single moment in this episode that made me smile even a little bit was in some way a throwback to some element of iCarly or Victorious. From minor things like Sam saying that she feels directionless now that Carly is missing from her life, to more direct things like the fact that Kat is apparently still attending Hollywood Arts in the background of this pilot. And when you take all of that out, what is left? Like, what is the new material? Because I'll tell you one thing, I am not pacing around my living room on a general day making up headcanon fan theories about Dice and Nona. It really kind of feels like to me that all Sam and Kat is at this point is someone taking these two characters from these two different shows and plucking them out of time at the exact moment we saw them last, and then just thrusting them forward on that exact same trajectory to see where they go. And that's all good and fine for like a 22-minute short, but I have this gut feeling that there is no game plan on how to generate any kind of new energy with this show or with these characters. And I think by the end, things are gonna be either really bad or really weird or both. But you know, just to get back on track here, if I'm an executive in the year 2012, I'm noticing the cracks in the foundation and I'm throwing this shit on the air because this is money printing itself. Now, a significant amount of you guys have probably noticed by now that I'm currently standing in front of my pinboard set. I've had this pinboard for about 10 years. It is a gift from my grandmother's husband. He found it in a dumpster. I've been using it in my videos for about 7 years. However, most of you probably know this set from my last two videos about Victorious, where I used it excessively. Now in this video I'd like to kind of rein it in a little bit, but I would like to very quickly talk about some general hot takes I have about this specific spin-off. So from my experience, it is not an uncommon opinion from people relatively my age that Sam and Kat was a noticeable downgrade from the shows that came directly before it. But there is kind of like a bias you have to take into account there, because like, former Nickelodeon kids have this really weird quirk I caught on to, where no matter how old they are, no matter what era they watched when they were kids, whatever show came out on Nickelodeon right after they were too old to watch it, that is the show that they will consider not only to be a bad program, but to be the program that single-handedly ruined Nickelodeon. So like if you were a Ren and Stimpy kid, you were like a Rocko's Modern Life kid, by the time SpongeBob came out, you were like too old for it, you think SpongeBob single-handedly ruined Nickelodeon. And if you were like a Zoe 101, Drake and Josh teenager, and you stopped watching by the time iCarly came out, you think iCarly fucking ruined Nickelodeon. So I kind of like, you know, approach this with a sane mindset, because Sam and Cat did not ruin Nickelodeon, I just stopped being 10 years old. However, even with an unbiased, open mind, I think it is extremely obvious that Nickelodeon branding, just the branding, took an obvious downgrade in between the mid-2000s and the 2010s. And right now, I would just like to highlight a couple really obvious examples of that. Starting off with the logos. This is not a joke, this is not a meme, this is an actual conspiracy theory I believe in. I think that in between 2007 and 2010, Nickelodeon fired whoever was making their logos, because the drop in quality is that obvious. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw up an example. These are the logos for Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, and iCarly. I decided to do this on the pinboard because I know that sometimes the visuals of the pinboard do not come through like I want them to. Sometimes I print the images too small, sometimes my camera quality sucks, sometimes my printer doesn't understand the nuances of the color, sometimes the paper that I print out gets wet somehow. But, despite the fact that kind of all of that is happening at once right now, you can look at these three logos, and you can identify what they are just at a glance. At a thumbnail level, if you are across the room right now, doing some kind of chore while you have this video on, and you glance up at the screen, you can easily identify that this is the logo for Drake and Josh, this is the logo for Zoe 101, and this is the logo for iCarly, because they're good logos. That's what they're supposed to do. And then you got the logo for Victorious. What is going on here? The catalyst for me realizing that this is a bad logo is that I was working on those last two videos and I had to put the Victorious logo in my thumbnail, and it was only when I went and did that that I realized that the Victorious logo is not identifiable at a thumbnail level because it looks bad, it just fades into the background. I mean, some of the letters are too thick, some of the letters are too thin. It has this like weird glossy stroking effect where there's not a consistent border on all of the letters. So like the V, for instance, I'm looking at the V right now. The right side of the lettering on the V is very, you know, it stands out, it's recognizable. The left side of the V is just gone. And so if you look at those old thumbnails again, if you pull them up, I tinted the whole logo blue because it's all I can do to turn the Victorious logo into something that's actually recognizable from a distance. And then we get to Sam and Cat and all bets are off. Who made this logo? Who designed this logo? Because I'll be honest right now, I'm looking at it right now, this ain't going in my thumbnail. Because like, is this show called Sam? Is it a show called Sam? Hey, did you hear about that new show, Sam? On the left side of the logo, big font, bold letters, gold shimmering color, the word Sam. On the right side of the logo is some kind of like neon light font with no filling, just the stroke, and it says Cat, so thin that you would just not see this word if you were walking by it. And then in the middle, you've got perhaps the weakest ampersand I've ever seen in my entire life. What do we have to do to get Nickelodeon to understand you don't put dark blue on black? And furthermore, if I'm just walking by this, I'm thinking that's an E. I'm thinking this show is called Sam E and I can't read the rest. I mean, I'm honestly curious. If there's people out there watching this video who were very little when Sam and Cat came out, the show is almost a decade old. If you were to walk by this logo, would you recognize it? If I were to take this logo and I were to change the words in the logo, would you get the joke? Because I feel like that is the case with all these logos, but not with this logo, because it looks like dog shit. The second thing I want to talk about when it comes to Nickelodeon branding is theme songs. This is a very important detail people don't talk about enough. Nickelodeon theme songs used to be so good that they were almost too good. They were Nickelodeon shows that had theme songs that set the standards too high for the rest of the show. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna be the one, unforgettable, it's better, unfabulous. There are a significant amount of people in my audience right now who are now thinking about a TV show which has literally not crossed their minds in 15 years. A show that has no memorable aspects, no episodes that immediately stand out in your mind, and yet, when I sang that theme song, you immediately knew what I was talking about, right? After iCarly, something happened. Because iCarly has easily, well, not easily, but perhaps, like, one of the greatest Nickelodeon theme songs ever. And then after that, like stuff just started going downhill, and Sam and Cat is maybe one of the lowest points in my opinion. A little bit earlier in this video, I did like a fake little pseudo credit sequence for the Gibby pilot, and I actually hired a guy to go ahead and like make a fake sitcom outro riff for that sequence, and I really wanted it to sound authentic, so I was trying to explain to him, like, you need to make it sound like a Backhouse Mike song. And he had no idea what that meant. He was like, I don't know who that is. And so I was trying to explain to him like who Backhouse Mike is and what his vibe is. And I said to him, imagine the worst Randy Newman song you've ever heard on a really bumpy road. And then, after I went through all that, I actually sat down and watched the Sam and Cat pilot for the first time, and I heard the Sam and Cat theme song, and I was like, shit, I nailed it, because that's exactly what the Sam and Cat theme song is. Look, I know that there's gonna be people watching this video who have nostalgia for this show, probably have nostalgia, you know, for every aspect of it. This is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my entire life. So much of this show literally feels like it was rushed together at the last minute. I mean, down to that theme song, which to me sounds like it was done as a favor, like over a weekend, like they had 48 hours to make a sitcom theme song, and that's what they came up with, and they had to stick with it. That's what everything in this show feels like to me. This segment has been all over the place at this stage, basically just a bunch of mini rants, but here's something that I wanted to address at this point in time. If Sam and Cat is a spin-off of two shows, what does it fundamentally pull from each of the two shows? To me, it certainly seems like Sam and Cat is leaning a little more towards the victorious side of the universe at this point in time. In fact, I would go as far as to say that the pitch of this show is basically, what does Cat from Victorious get up to when she's not at Hollywood Arts? And based on what I've read online, it's going to become a lot more common for us to see settings from the California side of the universe rather than the Seattle side, because duh. However, one interesting detail which did not carry over is that Victorious is, obviously, a musical show, and Sam and Cat isn't. Which is incredibly ironic for us, because I spent so much of the Victorious review bitching that Cat didn't get the spotlight, that Ariana wasn't allowed to sing, and now she has the spotlight, she has creative control, and Ariana basically decided that she didn't want to sing on this show.
We didn't want to sing on the show.
We had the option. I think we just wanted to do like a TV show because I feel like since Hannah Montana, it's been so cool for kid shows to be musically driven. I don't think there's a show for kids out there now that doesn't have music.
On the iCarly side of things, it seems to me the biggest thing that show contributes is the meta, which terrifies me. For those of you who never watched my 2 videos on iCarly, one of my biggest hot takes and takeaways about that show is that iCarly was one of the greatest live-action Nickelodeon shows to ever exist when it was about something. When it had a pitch and a plot and a storyline, it was one of the greats. But as soon as iCarly became a metaphor for its own success, it became borderline unwatchable. Characters lost motivation, fourth wall jokes became constant and unbearable, and huge chunks of the lore simply vanished into thin air because they didn't serve any purpose in the show's own self-flagellation. Sam and Cat is going to inherit a lot of this energy because their babysitting service is going to end up being called, get this, Sam and Cat, so expect a lot of like edgy meta jokes where like, whoa, they're describing the plot but also the show, so challenging. Sam and Cat also inherits the episode title gimmick from iCarly. For those of you who don't remember, on iCarly, every single episode title begins with I something, you know, I go to Japan, I stage an intervention, I pie, I kiss, etc. Well, with Sam and Cat, every episode is a hashtag. This episode was hashtag pilot, the next episode is hashtag favorite show, and the one after that is hashtag the Brit Brats. This was a pretty clear attempt to use social media to the show's advantage. You name an episode title hashtag something, that ends up trending on Twitter, people look at that hashtag on the trending tab and they're like, hey, what's that about? They click on it and then they're like, oh, iCarly has a spinoff. I didn't know that. But it reads as particularly hollow because this show really doesn't have anything to do with social media as a storyline, so it literally only exists that way to get the word out on Twitter. The reason I'm stopping to say all of this is that it's very clear that Sam and Cat is trying extremely hard to be an authentic continuation of both of these shows. And so that is exactly how I am going to treat it. In my iCarly videos, I kept a dedicated list of all of the crimes committed by the main characters in that show. And it is now my prerogative that I am going to continue that tally as if this is iCarly Season 7. Now, controversially, that means I'm going to consider every main character in this show to be an iCarly character as long as they're on this specific show. So Cat is not retroactively an iCarly character. We're not going to go back and add the 3 people she killed in Victorious to this list. And Goomer, who was introduced in this show, will not have his crimes against humanity from Henry Danger added to the list, because those 2 characters are only iCarly characters when they are in Sam and Cat and no other shows. This is a contained environment where for a brief time, every single character on this show is both an iCarly character and a Victorious character at the exact same time. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, to stay consistent with the branding of this show, we are going to stop calling these iCrimes and start calling them hashtag crimes. And then when we do the iCarly reboot, we're going to switch back to iCrimes. So this is hashtag crime number 71. That looks more confusing than I thought it would. Whatever. Hashtag crime number 71 is blackmailing the limo driver into getting free service by threatening false assault. Hashtag crime number 72 is obviously child endangerment. We're going to be covering this one a lot in this video. Sticking a baby into a motorized vehicle's metal basket and then allowing 2 other children to drive that around LA without supervision is not good. Also, they stole the motorized vehicle, so at some point, some crime happened here. I don't know why, but I thought that maybe Sam and Cat would end up being good babysitters, and that's like the twist of the pilot. That's why they decide to do it, because they're enthusiastic for the craft, for their passion. But no, they're gonna kill one of these kids someday. I was gonna throw in Sam doing tattoo work without registering properly, but then I was like, they built a nuke once on iCarly. Let's not kick this back off with small potatoes. Also, I realized while working on this bit that the Inside Out burger set is very clearly the Asphalt Cafe, And that makes me a little bit sad. I think I've decided I'm going to throw in the hashtag crimes analysis whenever they come up in the episodes, because saving this stuff for the end of the season becomes a little bit messy when no one can really agree when the seasons stop and start when it comes to Sam and Cat. In fact, you know what? Let's just stop here for a moment and discuss a little bit of the confusion and the chaos, and then we can finally get into episode 2. Okay, so as we've established, Sam and Cat's hashtag pilot was pitched to Nickelodeon in very late 2012, and they immediately approved it and greenlit the show for one season of 20 episodes, meaning that they now had 19 episodes left to make in order to finish season 1. It was the will of the showrunners that the show would premiere in spring 2013, directly after the Kids' Choice Awards. However, Nickelodeon ultimately rejected this, and this makes sense when you consider the politics of the time. That year, Victorious won the award for Favorite TV Show, and during the acceptance speech, it was casually mentioned that Victorious would not be coming back for another season. For many kids in the audience, that was how they found out that Victorious was cancelled. So to then follow that award ceremony up with a show that many people presumed was the reason Victorious was cancelled, it would have just been bad for branding. Finally, in June 2013, hashtag pilot was broadcast to the masses. Now, according to my research, according to a couple articles I read, they pushed this pilot back so far that by the time it actually went to air, they were done with that season order. So those 20 episodes they were supposed to have finished, they had stopped filming because they completed the season order. The Sam and Cat pilot was immediately recognized as a massive success, as it pulled in more than 4 million viewers. Now I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to keep in mind, that was the highest rated Nickelodeon show premiere in 3 years, basically since Victorious. Because if you didn't know this, Victorious pulled in 5.7 million viewers in its first episode, and no other Nickelodeon show has accomplished that since then. So 4.4 3 years later was really, really good for Nickelodeon at the time. And so within just a few weeks of hashtag pilot making it to air, it was formally announced that Sam and Cat's season order would be doubled, and that 20 more episodes would be immediately greenlit, meaning that Sam and Cat's first season order would be a total of 40 episodes. And so, on September the 26th, 2013, the cast and crew got back together to finish those 20 episodes, and presumably to prepare for a third batch of episodes to get the show across the 60 episode minimum that the network typically strived for. This would not come to pass, because Sam and Cat has only 35 episodes. 35 too many, if you ask me. Now, obviously, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but I just wanted to set all this up because with Sam and Cat, it is very important that you're keeping in mind not only a timeline of broadcast, but also a timeline of production, because eventually, everything is going to fall apart. By the way, this is my Sam and Cat set. I thought I'd introduce it. I think this is the first time I've shown it in the video. I know all my sets kind of look the same probably, but I try and have some fun, be creative with them. Specifically this part. I was trying really hard to make this part cool. So what we have here is we have the iCarly playset facing out. And on the left side, we have the Sam toy from the iCarly playsets. And on the right side, we have Cat Valentine from those Victorious Barbie dolls. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're looking over at this and you're thinking to yourselves, Quinn, those two things don't go together. Correct. Do you know what's funny? Like, do you know what's really, really funny? The whole time I've been working on this miniseries, like the whole time, people have been saying to me like, well, look on the bright side. Sam and Cat is just one season. There can't be that much to say about the show. So you're going to work hard on all these other videos, and then you're going to get to Sam and Cat, and it's going to be like 2 hours long, because how could anyone find anything to say about this show? And now we're what, like an hour 15, hour 20 into this video? And how many episodes of the show have I reviewed? 1. It's pretty funny, right? So let's try and correct that a little bit. Let's try and, balance out the scales. This is hashtag favorite show, originally aired on June the 15th, 2013. So at the start of episode 2, Sam is sleeping on the pull-out couch in the living room, and Kat wakes her up with a scream, causing Sam to react with violence. Sam asks how many times she's told Kat not to wake her up like that, and Kat says they've been living together for 2 days, so twice. Sam's alarm goes off as it turns to 7 a.m. and she comments that Kat should probably be running to school on her stupid pink bike. But Kat says she still has some time. I presume that Hollywood Arts starts their classes at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. because logistically speaking here, Sam and Kat live in Venice, California. Hollywood Arts is on Sunset Boulevard. That's an hour-long bike ride on a good day? At some point, that's just not worth it anymore. Like, just go to a different school. Besides, as Kat explains, she wants to spend the morning watching her favorite TV show, a sitcom called That's a Drag. Sam notes that this is one of her favorite shows as well, and they cautiously agree to watch it together. When Sam turns the TV on, we catch a few Easter eggs for just a few frames. Up at the top, you can see the Dingo channel from iCarly, then Drake and Josh and Zoe 101 airing on apparently competing networks, and finally D Versatismo from the Victorious finale. And yep, that's all the Easter eggs. Shockingly, one thing missing here is That's a Drag itself, but Sam somehow finds it anyways and turns to that channel. Here we find out that the sitcom is about a household of characters who, you guessed it, dress in drag. The boys wear dresses and the girls wear suits, that's the joke. Sam points out that the showrunners legally aren't allowed to use Pear products in their shows, so they instead show a laptop with a banana.
That's so clever!
After this, a man from the apartment complex stops by, saying that he's looking for a babysitter for his kids after school that day, and the girls accept. Hope he doesn't mind waiting so Kat can finish her hour-long commute home. We find out that Sam is also attempting to finish her high school career because this show is a tiny bit more time loopy than I anticipated, and that she's taking classes online. However, she bails on schoolwork to go back to binging That's a Drag all day. After the ever disorienting opening titles, we cut to Sam passing the time by turning 2 rib bones into nunchucks. Kat comes in crying and reveals some terrible news. That's a Drag has been canceled.
Why? That show's a big hit! It's insane! They're not even gonna do a big final episode! What?
Do you see what I mean when I say that late stage iCarly meta is super annoying? This is episode 2 of Sam and Kat. Episode 2! And it's already a self-referential in-universe parody somehow. Like, yeah, the joke is that this episode is a parody of how Victorious was canceled without a finale. Okay, but you haven't even sold me on the pitch yet. I don't get why this show exists. Like, what's your angle? Why do they run a babysitting service if the kids in the storylines always get sidelined? And just imagine for a moment all of the early 2010s Nickelodeon kids at home who were obsessed with Victorious and were heartbroken that it had ended, tuning into Sam and Kat to give it a chance, and it's like a high concept pastiche making fun of them for missing their favorite show. It's like really weird, right? Oh, and the 2 kids they're supposed to be babysitting are dropped off during this sequence.
Did you hear they canceled That's a Drag? Yes!
Sam and Kat find the name of the producer who runs the show and the address where it's being filmed, and oh my god, That's a Drag has a better logo than Sam and Kat. That's sad. Anyways, they take the 2 kids in with them so they can go and harass the showrunner. The showrunner explains that he doesn't control if the show is canceled or not, and then bails to go play tennis while one of the kids, Bob, gets stuck in a light fixture somehow. Kat vamps a minute of material out of trying to stop the showrunner, jumping on his car to try and stop him from leaving. Sam can't figure out how to get Bob down from the light, so she cuts the light down with an axe. Bob is dead. Sam and Kat should not have a babysitting service. The only reason Bob is alive is because this is a fucking Looney Tunes universe now. Kat shows up to the apartment hours later than everyone else, revealing that she managed to stay on the producer's car for 17 miles, before she finally fell off thanks to a speed bump in Santa Monica. Kat is still broken up about losing the show, but Sam comes up with a special way to cheer her up and recruits Dice to help her out. Sam wants to steal some random prop from the show, so Kat has some way to remember it. Dice says that this is sweet, and Sam threatens him with violence over this. The plan goes awry and Dice is nearly caught, but Sam acts like she's in charge and convinces all of the people on set to let Dice go and send all of the props from That's a Drag to her apartment instead of the storage warehouse that's supposed to go to. Meanwhile, Kat unloads the two kids at the retirement home and then apparently forgets about them and goes home. Kat comes home and discovers that her living room is decked out with the furniture of her favorite show. Kat says that Sam is sweet, and Sam decides to allow it, apparently not minding as much when it's coming from Kat. Nona barges in, drops the kids off, says something feels off about her living room, and leaves. And then we learn that Bob has become addicted to cheap thrills.
Can I jump off the roof?
Yes!
Hey, where in the hell is the dad of these kids? Like, they get dropped off at 4 p.m., then all four of them go to a soundstage in West Hollywood. I guess they Uber there because Sam has a motorcycle and Kat has a bicycle, so I don't know how they got 4 people there at the same time otherwise. Venice Beach to West Hollywood is easily a 30-minute drive. They all go there, spend a bunch of time at the soundstage, and then Sam and the kids go home. Meanwhile, Kat stays on a moving car for 17 miles. That's an hour-long drive, by the way. Then she has to walk from Santa Monica to Venice Beach, which also takes an hour. At this point, it's like 7 p.m. Then Sam goes back to West Hollywood, coordinates a massive drop-off of tons of furniture and props in Venice, then coordinates all of Nona's furniture being delivered to the storage facility in West Hollywood where all the props were supposed to go. Then Sam has to set up the entire living room by the time Kat gets home. At this point, it's like, what, 2 a.m.? Where did that guy go? Costa Rica? Also, I know I said earlier I was gonna count crimes as they happen, but I found out it's just too distracting to do that joke every time they go into a building without permission, so I'm gonna try and compile those every 10 episodes or so. For now, let's move on. At the start of episode 3, Kat comes home from school and falls, causing a commotion. When she gets inside, we learn that Sam is working on her own schoolwork. Her assignment is to prove to her online school that she has done 4 hours of community service, which, okay, that's weird. Sam attempts to upload photos of her feeding homeless animals, but it's all very clearly photoshopped, or actually GIMP-shopped. I know GIMP when I see it, and that's GIMP. After Kat notes that there is a dinosaur in one of Sam's photos, the blonde teen admits she needs some other plan to do community service, just as she sees that Kat has brought home a British fruit called a
Plum Figgles.
Baby girl, that's a dragon fruit. We have those in the real world. Kat explains that they're going to be babysitting 2 British children, so she wants to be prepared. Sam attempts to help out by bringing up another British foodstuff, Bibble.
It's sort of like a candy popcorn that, like...
I know what it is!
Sam says they could go to the Bibble store down the street, and Kat protests that some people are banned from ever going back there. Yeah, so British kids come in and act very formal in front of the titular teens before their uncle heads off.
Cheers.
Seinfeld.
Friends.
Now, these two are played by Sophia Grace Brownlee and Rosie McClellan. These two are cousins in real life and were apparently an internet sensation in the early 2010s, doing music covers, appearing on TV shows. They were on Ellen, which was cool back then. I'm saying apparently because I'm led to believe that these two are much more recognizable if you're like younger than me by quite a bit. I have no idea who these people are. Kat's Nona texts her from the elderly home and says she needs help setting up a bingo game. Sam jumps at the opportunity, saying this is the perfect chance for her to get her community service in. There's the open again, gives me a migraine every time. At the elderly center, we find out that Nona is setting up a bingo game, but that no one else wants to play. And she says that she won't sign Sam's community service form until she actually does community service and helps her out. So Sam and Nona have to convince everyone to play bingo. At the apartment, Kat is bored because the two British kids are extremely well behaved, but she gets some relief when Dice comes in for his daily attempt to sell something stupid to her. This time, it's the Spife. Half spoon, half knife.
You want to buy one? Yes, just shut up and take my money.
Man, isn't this the most riveting thing you've ever seen in your entire life? A plot, bingo. B plot, British children. C plot, Dice has a fucking spoon. Dice notices one of the girls has a Pearphone 6, which is state of the art and not even out in America yet. Wow, this episode is old. The girls explain that their dad works for the Pear Company, so they get their phones for free with early access. He begs them to sell him $500 worth of phones, saying he'll be able to flip them at a steep profit. Dice does the exchange, but after the girls are gone, he discovers that the box is filled with rocks. He's been bamboozled, Charlie Brown style, and is out $500.
Wow, they really changed the design.
In the A plot, Sam's bingo game is too loud and is hip-hop themed, and the old people do not like it. All while Dice tries to channel his best Josh Peck.
And they sold me rocks! Rocks!
Sam gets home and laughs at Dice's pain, saying he fell for the oldest trick in the book, before announcing that she's going to take a frying pan and bash some heads until she gets the money back. Babysitter of the year. But Kat says that Sam shouldn't murder children, so they have to think of a new plan. Kat goes on her own to get the money back, trying to just be polite, but is distracted by one of the children eating Bibble.
Is she eating? Bibble!
Alright, normal show. Kat barges back into the apartment and announces that she has Bibble, as she screams and runs around. She says that she paid for the Bibble with all of Dice's money and her bike, but at least she has the British popcorn and it's all ear cleaners. Sorry, I guess the politically correct term is cotton swabs. Kat goes back to get her Bibble and is sprayed with a water hose. How late is it right now? Does Dice have parents? Is he an Aladdin-style huckster of circumstance? Sam says the only way they can get the Brit Bats back is to out-Brit the Brit Brats with a brilliant bunco battle strat. So they wait for the girls to walk by their apartment and then loudly announce that the bingo game at Elderly Acres is rigged, and whoever gets card number 54 will win a brand new flat-screen TV worth $3 grand. The next day, the kids come skipping in and announce that they're going to win. Kat then attempts to buy card number 54 for $5 before the girls outbid her by asking for $500. The girls do win the TV, which means Sam did rig the game somehow, but the police bust in. They say it's illegal to hold a bingo game with a price worth over $3 grand without authority, so they're shutting everything down. The girls begin crying and one of the cops takes them out to a back alley. He then returns and announces that the British girls are gone. Everyone celebrates, cheering at the idea of two 9-year-olds left out in the freezing cold by a dumpster. Kat gets her bike back, Dice gets his money back, Dice gives all the elderly spifes, and the credits roll on the two children, terrified and alone as a fire in the background grows ever stronger. This one is weird. Season 1 episode 4 opens with Sam doing a series of prank calls with kids she's supposed to be babysitting. They scream into the phone, startling Kat, who passes out.
Oh no! The pizza!
When they finally wake Kat back up, she says that she's prone to passing out when under stress, something very consistent with the continuity of this character. The next morning, Sam makes a smoothie with 2 slices of pizza and root beer. Okay, Dice comes in and he has a goat. Okay, that's right, it's the GOAT episode. Prepare for GOAT hijinks. In a flashback, we learn that Dice paid a shady guy in an alley for a coat and was given a goat before the man ran off. The rushed production of these episodes is evident when you notice that the shady alley from this episode and the shady alley from the last episode are very clearly the same place. Dice begs Sam to babysit his goat while he's at school, and Sam agrees. Payoff to a segment in my last video in 3, 2, 1.
Come in.
What?
Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, may I proudly introduce Goomer.
Nah, this is Goomer.
I'm Goomer.
Goomer is an MMA fighter in the SoCal area who Dice has become the official manager of. And you know what? I wasn't sold the first time I saw this character, but Goomer is a breath of fresh air to this stale-ass show. There's a reason that this is the only thing that carried over when Sam and Cat ended. Although I do think he tends to be a little bit more fun in these early episodes because he's not too much of a cartoon character at this point, but he still gets all the funny lines.
Oh yeah, you gotta feed the goat.
I'll feed the goat.
Look at that dog.
Later in the day, Sam is visited by none other than Ben Shapiro. Ben tells Sam that she's not allowed to have animals in the apartment complex. She mocks his stupid attire and flowing cape and eventually gets fed up with him as she rips his clothes off, putting his shirt around his legs and his pants around his neck. She throws him out and says that she'll keep the cape for his sake. I know you're probably wondering why this kid is out and about while Dice and Cat are at school, but that plot hole doesn't bother me because I'm actually convinced this is Ben Shapiro. Later at the gym, we see that Goomer is in fact a very skilled fighter, but Cat breaks up his sparring because she says that fighting is never the answer. We find out here that the little kid Sam bullied earlier is Dilbin, the son of the owner of the building that they all live in. If you haven't noticed this yet, there's the slightest chance that you might actually recognize Dilbin from somewhere else, because this actor was actually one of the 4 kids in the original Gibby pilot. Later on, Dilbin stops by the apartment, and Cat tries to make things right.
Hi, Delvin. Come in. Would you like a muffin?
I spit on your muffins.
Hey, at least you didn't lick 'em. Man, if I made this video 7 years ago, that would be such a topical riff. Dilbin learns that Nona has moved to Elderly Acres, meaning that there's no legal adult staying with Sam and Cat. This is actually like a normal thing to point out.
Hello, Sean.
This is bad.
How are you doing? I'm gathering deep slate because I need to, I don't know if you're watching right now, but I'm gathering deep slate because I need to use it for a building project. Jesus. A building project I'm making and should be able to show you sometime soon. Nothing much. How are you, Sean? Let me gather a little bit more deep slate because I don't really think I need that much. Just like an inventory's worth would be enough. Let's see. Yeah, if I get like a few more stacks. I'll show you in a little bit here, but I'm basically building a castle project. These are going to be like the blocks that are going to be used for the portcullises between, or like the, I don't know the terminology, but you know, like the towers in between the walls around the entire like perimeter. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll turn out good. Don't know until I try. This is a this is a random pick I made just for mining. So that's why I'm not using a netherite pick right now. It's just purely for just straight mining. Yeah, I'll switch it out when I'm done here. Perfect. Oh, so I know it's been a while since you've been on the server, but I think you'll think this is cool. There are these things called, I'm sure you know what the lodestones are in game. I grinded out enough netherite to get one for the village center, one for the end, and one for the nether. Well, we've had the one for the nether for a long time, but these are new. Yeah. Oh shit. Almost forgot. I've slightly improved my farming area a tad bit. This is the same, but I have a cactus farm down here. This is improved with its own little smelting station down here. Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me. This is an automatic farm. Auto farm over here. And then don't really need a farm or anything for that because Jesus Christ. I converted this area into a full-time storage. Oh, I like this feature. I'll show you that in a second, but wrong place. I just made a chute that sends stuff down there. I flopped how. Yeah, well, nobody's really been playing the past few days. I think he's been mostly working on trying to get a new job set up. Oh, this is a castle over here, by the way. Then Benny's he's just been playing Overwatch 2 and, you know, other stuff. So I'm gonna try to build a wall in between them. These are like smaller because I'm gonna build like a waterway gate between them. Yeah. The hell? What? Okay. That was weird. Oh yeah, and then now here comes the fun part, Sean. Oh wait, I need to set up one more thing and then I can start this. Do I not have any? I don't think I have any. Just gonna grab some extras. Did I only really destroy 9 there? 10? Sweet. Place maxing, place maxing, place maxing. God damn it. Hotbar them? Oh, there's this, button that's been in the game for a while now. It's called, pick block. It's set to the middle mouse button, so what it does is, if you have a block in your inventory, So if you wanted to like pick it out fast, like if I wanted to pick out scaffolding, bam. If I wanted that, bam. It'll either auto place to whatever is the like opens an open slot in your inventory, like left to right, or if your inventory's open, it's gonna like replace whatever is you're hovering over in that slot. Yeah, I think that should be perfect. Except for the door I have to make at the bottom, but oh well. Sweet. And we have blocks left over. Alright. Yeah. So next I should want to work on you know what? That actually might be a good palette. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna try to figure out palette changes or palette decisions. Well, I think I'm gonna have to go get resources. One thing I didn't want to upgrade.
right? Like, if this happened in real life, you'd be worried, right? He says that with the goat and the two of them being underage, he now has 2 reasons to kick them out of the apartment complex. Then Sam does that thing again where she strips all of his clothes off, puts them on wrong, and throws him outside. They go back to Elderly Acres and convince Nona to pretend to be moving back in whenever the owner comes around. That way they won't get kicked out. However, a maintenance man falls from the ceiling and Nona is out of commission for the night, which means they have to find a legal adult to pretend to be staying with them so they won't be thrown out. And their first pick is, of course, Goomer. So they run the whole plan by the Goomster. He will pretend to be their uncle while Dice stays in the back and hides the goat in the shower. However, the goat sneezes in Dice's face and he becomes increasingly disgusted by it. Goomer constantly refers to his Uncle Fudge, who he says he wants to play for the evening. Dilbin shows up with his father and the girls say they've sold the goat and that their Uncle Fudge is now living with them. Dilbin's dad asks for Goomer's ID just as the goat runs out. Dilbin's father calls them on their bluff, but at that exact moment, Dilbin's bluff is also called as his real father rushes into the room looking for him. We find out Dilbin's other father is a paid actor who sprints out of the room. We're told that Dilbin's father doesn't actually own the building. This is a lie he tells people because he's embarrassed of his father's real job, which is, brace yourselves, a feet thing.
I sell wide shoes to wide-footed women.
Dilbin says it's not easy being unlikable and having a father that sells wide shoes to wide-footed women, and his father says it isn't easy having a son that likes wearing capes. Sam realizes neither of these people hold power in their lives, and she completes the rule of 3. I've noticed this trend so far that many of these episodes feel not like finished drafts of a piece of media, but more like the raw, unfiltered potential of many ideas blindly being jotted down like an empty train of thought. This episode is called #NewGoat, but when you break down the basic storyline, the goat doesn't do anything. It's barely even a runner, let alone a B-plot. I'm pissed off. I was promised goat antics. Goomer is the best part, but he just kind of stands around and says funny stuff. Like, why do we go to the gym to watch him fight? That doesn't go anywhere. And why is there like a pre-title sequence of Kat carefully setting up the fact that she faints when she's in fear? It comes across as lore we're supposed to know, like there's going to be payoff at the end of the episode, but it doesn't serve any purpose in what is presented to us. Here's my take. Remember when I said that the theme song to this show feels like it was made in one weekend?
Welcome back. So, I left the area because I realized I'm going to need some more materials of mud, and you can check out what Tyler made here. He made a slime farm, and it is functional, out all the way in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So, I'm out here gonna get some mud. Best place is gonna be from this mountain because there's no trees over here. So the reason I'm gathering this is because I made I had an idea that mud, well not mud by itself, but packed mud and mud bricks kind of look like something you would find on like a kind of like a mass stone wall you would find in the one I'm trying to make. So that's what I'm gonna try to go for here. mean, listen to that Minecraft score. Alright. Well, I think I'm gonna stop desecrating this mountain for a second. Can't I get down here? There we go. Need to be resourceful and grab every little last block we can. Muddy mangrove roots are useless. Now that's weird. There's enough physics, you can get anywhere with one rocket. I have no clue how this works, so I was assuming there'd be mobs in here, but I might have to go... The fuck? Oh, I grabbed the vine. Well, I don't really need any because I got like 3 stacks when I initially made the thing, so never gonna need any more, am I right? Haha. Weird. Okay, Jesse! Okay. So many blocks in total. Okay. Gangbusters, yeah, I think that's everything. Alright. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna follow you. Right behind you. Good night, Sean. Talk to you later. Have a good day at work tomorrow. I'm supposed to be getting a new machine in the shop tomorrow, so see how that goes. Hopefully I don't get crushed. Yeah. You too, man. Yeah. I'll send a snap if it's set up at the end of the day. Probably not. We'll see. Alright. Peace.